Hello, everyone out there in Twitter, YouTube, wherever else you happen to be finding this. This is another episode of Fighting the Void, and I, Ginger, am joined here today by, you see her name as ARK Watson. We will call her Alyssa just for fun. And today we're going to be talking about, well, before I get there, let me apologize. I missed last week's episode. I kind of teased this one for last week, but I remembered, oh, it's my wife's birthday. I don't want to die in my sleep. So we, so I didn't do an episode last week, but here we are this week, back on schedule for a little while before life intervenes yet again, as it will soon. Which I will get into that at the end of the episode. But for today, we're going to be talking about a little venture that Alyssa started. Gosh, I don't know however many years ago. I'll let you get into that. Called Catholic Reads, which is about trying to discover some of the new and exciting talent that's out there, and just because the market is heavily saturated and heavily gatekept, it's hard to find the new and good talent. And Catholic Reads has made its mission to say, here it is. You're tired of Christians reading nothing but C.S. Lewis and Tolkien? Well, here's some people they could be reading. So, Alyssa, welcome. I've been wanting to have you on for ages.
Thanks. Yeah. No, I understand. It's even just in the past year, it's been nuts. I think we've all just been holding on, right?
In so many different ways. It has been an interesting year.
Yeah, no, I started Catholic Reads 4 years ago, but it didn't launch until a year after I started working on it. Like I started coding and working on the website, making plans about a year before that. So.
Okay, so it's been fully operational for about 3 years now.
Yeah.
And I've been a part of it for I think like 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
sounds about right. And yeah, you can actually find a bunch of my reviews of some of those new and good books out there, and of course, Alyssa reviews on the site too, as well as a handful of other people. And yeah, it actually is a really great resource for finding some quality reading material. And it's not all just well, you know what? I'll let you speak to this. What is one of the things that you really wanted to do with this?
Well,
Because
what I'm
there's a stereotype of what Christian fiction is.
There is. And it's there for a reason, and some of it's good and some of it's bad. But what I'm really proud of with our venture is that we treat all books the same, regardless of whether or not it's indie published, traditional published, small press. We read every single book and give it the same treatment. And it's led us to be able to find books that are doing, the stuff that, like the great stuff that Christian fiction is known for, but also doing some really new and interesting stuff that you wouldn't even think of. Like there's this fantastic book that I finished recently that's a lit RPG book, and it goes all into how kind of having a video game in real life, how that would actually affect our philosophy and how people would like spiritually react to that. And he does a really good job of like providing a wide range of reactions to it, but also kind of having this presence of, there is a greater power in control and at work behind the background, even if we don't fully, even if not all the characters believe in it or fully acknowledge it. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I would say there's and that's a good example of how there's a wide range of different books and everything that the site reviews. You do get stuff that would fall in more of the stereotypical Christian fiction category, in the sense that, it's very family friendly. And
very friendly, a lot of historical fiction. I love stories set in biblical times. There's
right.
I grew up reading Christian fiction. Like I love this genre, and but I also love just how much creative freedom technology has given artists today. And
oh gosh, yes.
Yeah, it's just really it's a pain to wade through it and find the golden gems yourself. But when you have like a great team with Ginger here and everyone else, it's just so inspiring to see how much there is. Like, I think we have a wait list that's usually people are waiting almost a year, and it has
My
not dried
goodness.
up.
Yeah.
Like, I really didn't think that it was going to be this big, but um, yeah.
Well, yeah, and there's never not been anything to read, and then you've got some people who regularly submit, like Declan Finn, who's been on the show numerous times. Uh, that guy writes almost as fast as I can read.
Oh yeah, he's the Stephen King of Christian fiction.
Oh,
Absolutely.
oh yeah, absolutely. Not just in how prolific he is, but also like the type of books he writes
Oh,
has a role
they're very
actually.
similar, and yeah, in feel and style.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you know, and as some of the viewers know, I describe his work as punch you in the face Catholicism, because it's
Yeah,
very open about how Catholic it is, but it's also not afraid to punch the bad guys in the face.
yeah, yeah. And it's also not afraid to like laugh at itself. You know.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like he'll be the first to tell you, it's like, yeah, I just kind of just let loose and had fun with this. And it shows, which is why exactly as I enjoy reading them so much. But of course, there's lots of others too, like Teresa Linden. I actually edited her book, Tortured Soul, which is really good. It's not the typical thing that I would read, but I'm glad I had the chance to actually work on that a little bit, because it was really good. It was very, very well done. It's more of a woman's getting tormented by this troubled spirit, who turns out he's in purgatory, and he's reaching out trying to find somebody to help him kind of move on. And it's, like I said, it's extremely well crafted, spiritual mystery, I think, is a good way to describe it.
Yeah, the paranormal mystery with that actually gets, um, you know, Christian beliefs about ghosts and afterlife accurate.
Right. And gosh, it just suddenly occurs to me, the main character reminds me a bit of a friend of mine. Huh.
Does Teresa know this friend?
No, not that I'm aware. Not that I'm aware at all, as a matter of fact. But now I suddenly might need to get a copy of this book and send it to said friend, just because it really reminds me of her. I hadn't thought about it until just now, and now it just suddenly pops into my mind. I'm like, oh, hmm,
I love
this
that. I
could
love
this
that
could actually
comment.
be a benefit. But anyway, uh, and it's how many reviews are on the site now?
Oof. I know we've done promotions for 147 books, and then there's more reviews than promotions we've done. So I think at least 200. Most likely over 200. I don't know if we've reached 300, but we're somewhere in between there. A lot.
So it is quite a few, definitely.
Yeah.
And now, what was I know you've been to conferences and everything, shopping the Catholic Reads brand around a little bit,
Mhm.
and just trying to network, as I know you're good at. Uh, Now, as I recall, the initial reactions to Catholic Reads were like, "You're doing what now?" How has that changed over the last couple of years?
It's changed a lot in some ways, and it's the same in others. There's still a lot of conferences that I've been to that, like, usually if it's my first time there, that I still get that same reaction. But a lot of the ones that I've gone back to now, I have publishers who started to tell me, like, "Hey, we want to publish this experimental stuff you're finding, and this stuff that goes into genres we don't usually publish. We don't
Hmm.
really know how to market it, and we don't really know what to." So they are talking to me now, and they're actually showing a lot more interest. I've been actually did this huge research into our statistics, and I'm going to do a panel on it for the Catholic Writers Guild conference if you go to it, where I look at what readers are actually looking for more
Hmm.
of. Um, and so that's been really interesting, and it's uncovered some things and trends that I really did not expect. So,
Well, I know a while ago, I don't know if it's still the case at all, but horror was actually one of the more popular categories. At least I don't know if that's still the case, but
mhm. Yeah,
uh,
no, it's still one of the
is
more
it
popular
really?
categories. Yeah.
Huh.
We'll go more into it because I need to save it for the conference. But yeah.
Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, and there you go. Christians are definitely interested in reading more than, I don't know, tales of where everybody is always buttons the top button and all the skirts are floor length. you know,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, and again, even for books that I've reviewed and then rejected, they're still like trying to branch out a lot
Mhm.
more than a lot of the stuff that you might associate with, say, Zondervan, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah. I love this stuff from Zondervan. But yeah, you're right. Like even the books I've rejected, like I can't hardly think of any of the ones. Like I've always rejected them with this like caveat of like, oh, it's almost there, and I really like where it's going.
I've had a
But
lot of those.
edit or like yeah, even the like failed books, like they're actually they fail in really interesting ways, and it makes me really hopeful for where Christian publishing is going in the future because that author is probably not going to stop there. They're going to keep writing. They're going to get better.
Oh, there's a
Uh,
couple in particular that I really hope do. I
yeah.
don't recall the name of it, but there was one that I reviewed a while ago. It was kind of a
Well, let's not name names just
no, no,
because
no.
I
I'm
don't.
not doing that at all. It was a fantasy type book, and
Mhm.
it had a lot of potential. I could tell,
Yeah.
but I got about 100 pages in, and I'm just like, nothing's happened.
Yeah, it just needed like restructuring of the plot and cutting a few scenes, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep, yep. It
Mhm.
was like, yeah, solid editor to trim things down a little bit and make your main character more. I hate your main character. Uh, what's that?
Proactive, maybe.
Likable.
I
Um,
like likable characters sometimes, though.
you can have an unlikable character, but it's got to
Mhm.
be somebody that like you want to like,
Yeah.
and not somebody that you're supposed to like.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
got you.
there's a big difference there,
I feel that
and
way about Dr. Frankenstein and Frankenstein's like not the monster, but the scientist.
yeah.
I know I'm not alone. A lot of people can't stand him.
Well, I mean, he's an arrogant jerk, but you're not supposed to like him.
Oh no.
You know, you're supposed to hate him pretty much.
I think you're supposed to like him at the beginning, and then you're supposed
Perhaps.
to like slowly be horrified. I think it's just because it has the burden of being a classic novel that people reread and get assigned to reread.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had to rewrite a paper on that book every year of my education from 11th grade and all the way through college. So by the end of college, I was like, I'm done. But it's really just consequence of having to reread it so many times.
Yeah.
And
Now, I never got assigned to read it actually.
hmm,
No, I read it. I read it on my own back in junior high because
yeah.
I was a dork and I read books like all the time. I was like, oh, Frankenstein, I've heard stories. let's let's read it. And I was like, oh, this is really good.
It is. It's a great book.
And then of course it spawned any number of odd movie adaptations. But I think the most interesting would be the one starring Aaron Eckhart
I don't
and Miranda Otto.
I've seen that one.
It's like I Frankenstein or something like that. It's ju-
Mm.
it's solid B movie stuff.
Mhm.
Like it could have been really good, but the effects were horrible in it.
Yeah, I think I've been tempted by that movie. It looks like a potentially so bad it's good
It
movie.
it really could have been awesome,
Mm.
but it fell short in a couple areas. But in any case, we're way off topic. But definitely check it out when you have some spare time,
Mm.
and it, there's so much potential in there. You're just wishing it was better. But anyway, way off topic. So Catholic Reads is now somewhat of a known quantity
Mhm.
out there, at least in Catholic publishing world,
Mhm.
which definitely a niche market, but it's a it's a niche market with a lot of clientele.
Mhm.
Um, and we've got somewhere around 300 reviews in the hopper, 140 something uh, promotions done, and so what's next? What else is Catholic Reads looking at doing?
Well, we just launched our Patreon account. So previously, we'd been doing all of our services for authors for free,
Hmm.
just our rent on our site and our overhead. I knew that we can't do that forever, and I
Yeah.
want this to be something that lasts. So we have a Patreon account, and supporters can support us, and they can get access to book clubs and to like intimate meet the author events. So it can
Hmm.
be a really fun way to meet a bunch of other nerds and get to
Hmm.
meet storytellers that you like and find some new ones. Um, and if we get enough support from that, then we can go back to like doing all of our stuff for authors for free because I really want this to be available for whatever for the quality of the book, not like based on how much money the author makes.
Right, right. And also, just for anyone out there who sees this and is like, I'd like to submit something. How does that process work?
You send us an email and you have the title and the book summary and themes, and there's a few other details. We have a submit book page on our
Hmm.
website that has a full list of like the email template you send us. And we put it in our submission document, and you got to wait because there's a lot of books and we read through every
Yep.
single one. But when your book does come to the top, I'll send you an email, link you to the editor who's going to vet your book, and you send them the review copy and we read it and vet it. And if it passes muster, we write the review and schedule a promotion. And we do a BookBub style promotion where, and this is for readers too, if readers subscribe to our email list, they get a book a week sent to their email, and it's marked down like 50% off to free. And it's just a short flash promotion. It's a great way to, if you want to read more books like this, but you don't really know where to start, it's a good way to like find stuff and not spend a lot of money. But then once you do know the authors and the stories that you like, you can
Hmm.
actively follow those authors and read the sequels and
Oh yeah, yeah,
that
and
kind
I definitely do that. And I actually, these days now, I'm trying to actually, well, while I have enough access through enough different avenues, I can get most books that I want for free, probably, at least from the indie authors. I'm like, no, they need support, so I'm trying to actually, because not to mention they usually only cost like 3, $5 a shot to get the Kindle version. It's
yeah.
like I can afford $3, $5, every couple of weeks or every month.
Mhm. Well, I mean, like I started this at a time in my life where I really couldn't afford
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
books,
Everybody's at that.
and
Everybody has those times. That's for sure.
and I think yeah, and so I kind of designed this for the reader who maybe couldn't spend a lot of money
Yeah.
on paperback books for every single author they wanted to support. So
Hmm.
it's useful for them to know to read a few of the books to get to know the author and find the ones they really do want to
Yep.
support. So when they can
Absolutely.
spend their money, they know it's going to the artist that they really
Yeah,
want.
that they actually like and can feel good about liking.
Yes.
Whereas, these days somebody might enjoy reading a Stephen King novel, but be like, I really don't want him to get any of my money though, because he's kind of a jackwagon.
I don't know a lot about his personal life. I'm one of those people that purposefully doesn't want to know about the personal lives of famous people.
It's usually better that way. It really is.
Yeah.
And
I
let's just say that
think
I experienced a good deal of Schadenfreude when during Proposition 8, the one that was going to base Proposition 8 in California. This was years ago now
oh, yeah, yeah,
when they had, okay.
yeah.
People can look that up if they want, but basically it had to do with basically saying marriage is between a man and a woman in
Mhm.
California, and it's actually in their state constitution, even though you would never know it. Um, but during that whole campaign, Orson Scott Card came out
Oh,
supporting it, and I got a lot of Schadenfreude out of watching the left squirm around and everyone that is very socially liberal squirm in support and be like, can I still read Orson Scott Card? I don't know. He supports all these things that I don't like. And he's like a devout Mormon and stuff. I don't know if I can read him anymore. I'm like, you know, Christians, we figured this one out a long time ago. You just don't pay attention to what these people say, to what anybody says when they're not behind the keyboard,
yeah. Yeah.
or whatever. If people really pay attention to everything these people do, no one would watch anything.
Yeah,
Maybe it's okay.
no one would do anything or buy anything if you have to sign off on personal
on
statistics.
on every single opinion of every single actor, writer, director.
Yeah, and your mother wouldn't talk to you. No one's parents would talk to any of their children because, you know, but yeah, you
Yeah.
just support what you have positive affirmation for, and just ignore the rest. It's like, don't say anything if you can't say something nice. Well, I mean, like,
These days, I might throw a
you
hammer
can say
down
I
every now and again,
disagree.
but
You can say I disagree, absolutely, but you don't have to be like, and you're ugly about
no,
it too.
yeah, I don't
That's
see where that helps. But um, but okay, so again, I think we got a little off track with
yeah.
the Patreon account is going,
Mhm.
and hopefully we'll grow. I know there's a few subscribers on there
Mhm.
that are contributing.
And the
Hmm?
first 10 subscribers, I'm going to send them a thank you care package of snack food from South Korea because I'm living in South Korea. So.
Oh yeah, we didn't even mention that. You might notice that even though it's currently almost 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, where I am at, Alyssa is clearly sitting in daylight
And drinking coffee.
and drinking. Well, I was drinking coffee too, but that's because I'm me. And
It's a very Korean thing to do. Coffee shops don't open until like 12, and then they stay open till midnight here.
no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, well, other than not opening until 12, I'm totally on board. I actually wish we had more coffee shops that were open later over here.
Mm-hmm.
Like it used to be a thing that places would be open a lot later,
Mm-hmm.
but over the last, I don't know, roughly 5 years or so, I noticed maybe probably more like 10 even. There were fewer and fewer. Like it got to the point where, okay, there was maybe one or two that were open till like 10 or 11. And then now it's like, I don't know how many are even open. And this is even, not taking into account the whole COVID stuff.
Yeah.
It's like even before that, I don't know if there was anyone that was open as late as 9 o'clock anymore. I'm like,
Yeah, I used to work at
what
a
the
coffee
heck?
shop. I'd get up at 5 a.m. Some of my coworkers would get up earlier. And I think just because I was living in Houston and there's a lot of bubble tea places, that was the place that had the late night caffeine fix. So
Huh.
that's was bubble tea.
So it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, dang it, coffee shops, get your act together. There are people with day jobs who still want to be able to go every now and then to the coffee shop later at night
Mm-hmm.
and read and work on their stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Well, Jake, hold on. I have to address this. I have to address this in the comments. Say Jake is like now saying he has to disavow the podcast due to views on coffee. Jake, you're Mormon. I get it. Okay. I don't
oh,
care.
oh man, it'd be tough.
I'm drinking my coffees.
Yeah, no, Korea is called the land of the morning calm, and it's very much because everyone is asleep in the morning. Everyone's definitely night owls here. It'd be tough to be
Not
Mormon.
not land of the rising sun.
Oh no.
Not at all. Huh. There's probably Suddenly I want to delve into the history of between South Korea and Japan. I know they don't like each other much.
Yeah.
I know they don't like each other much. It's because one of them used to beat up on the other one. They probably both beat up on each other at some point, as is usually the case.
Kind
My
of
guess is
like,
Japan was beating up on them would be my guess.
yes, yes, very much, very much.
Because people don't realize J- Japan Japan before we put them in their place at the end of World War II, they sucked. They suck bad. Go ask
Uh,
the go ask the Chinese
mhm.
what they think about, especially in which province was it? Well, the city was Nanking,
Mhm.
but was it Manchuria? Was that the
Uh,
province?
no, I don't think so. I don't know. I'm
Uh,
sorry.
but
But I mean, like, yeah, a lot of Japanese will admit that too. Like they don't. I think part of the reason why they're so against, like they're so pacifist, is because they don't want to go back to that. you know. Um,
yeah, good for them for not wanting to go back to that. It's like on one hand, it's like samurai are cool, but
mhm.
at the same time, that same culture did wow, and it wasn't that long ago. But now, now they sit around and invent backpacks that feed you tomatoes while you run. This is real. And yeah, and build giant statues of Gundams.
Yes, yes, the important things in life.
Yeah. Oh, and Jake clarifies, Nanking is not in Manchuria, but they did take over Manchuria. So
Yeah,
two
that's what.
separate, okay,
Yeah,
two separate things. None of them made them any friends over in China.
yeah.
Not that China wouldn't do the same thing to them if they had the opportunity. Let's face it. But anyway, that's again far afield, far afield. Um,
Mhm.
so back to writing. Let's get to some of your writing because Alyssa is also a writer and she writes as ARK Watson. And I actually had the chance to work on your first book, which is out now, The Vines of Mars.
Yeah, got
So
it.
tell us, there you go. There you go. And it's one heck of a cover design too. I don't know who you had do that, but
Uh, Fiona Jade Media.
okay. Well, look up that person if you need cover designs because she clearly does a good job.
She does.
And okay, so tell us about Vines of Mars. Give us a plot synopsis and go and inspiration and all of that jazz.
Yeah, so it's a murder mystery set on a Martian colony. So it's kind of like a locked planet mystery. 'Cause it's a small town, small colony. Um, the premise is this guy Tomas. He thinks that his sister died like 10 years prior, and this kid shows up, and he kind of freaks out because the kid looks familiar, but he doesn't know who this kid is, and he knows every single person on this planet. It's a small town,
Right.
very much so. And the kid takes him to um, to where his sister's body really is, and it's not where he thought it was, and it's not the age that he thought it was, and clearly someone did a murder, and it's probably someone he grew up with and knows intimately, and he's got to figure out um, who done it.
Mm-hmm.
And then also in the background, there's this part of what makes my colony possible is there's this giant alien kudzu plant that's um, taken over the planet and kind of gives it oxygen. But it also goes after anything with water, so it goes after and eats people. And yeah, definitely high inspirations would definitely be the Martian Chronicles.
Mm.
Um, and definitely some influence from Dune there with the desert people. I don't have a sandworm. My sandworms are green.
Yeah.
Uh,
The only real, well, not the only villain, but the primary threat is
mhm.
really the vines,
Yeah,
which, as we find out, turns out there's some sentience to them. They don't just attack willy nilly.
yeah, but it's sentience in it's not human sentience. Like I really
Right.
wanted to have aliens that were sentient but didn't have our psychology, that weren't just like, like I love Star Trek, but I wanted something more than just, people with stuff and slightly different accents.
Right, right. Yeah, that's a good point. The the typical alien, let's just call them the Star Trek aliens. They're essentially just people with different cultures.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah,
like that stuff, but I wanted to really get into something different.
something that was really like genuinely alien.
Yeah, yeah, that you could kind of sense comes from a different evolutionary path.
Hmm. Which you definitely get that sense in this, and it's been a little while since I read it, so I don't remember all of the names and everything, but I do recall Tomas seeing him struggle with everything that was going on. It's like, oh my gosh, my sister didn't die like 10 years ago. What's going on? And just dealing with all of the issues and everything that come from that. And of course, he has to struggle um, with his wife and trying to figure out the mystery and yet hide this kid who is like, where did this, like you said, where did this kid come from? It's a
Mhm.
small, struggling colony that has no business continuing to exist, but somehow it is. And
Yeah, very much like edge of the frontier kind of feeling, holding on to existence.
yeah, and that's one of the things too. You realize that this Mars colony is probably just going to slowly die out without some sort of intervention.
Mhm. Yeah, and to I think another theme I get into, and I feel like I need to warn people about this in a way, is so you find out pretty early on that this kid is his nephew. So somehow
Mm.
his sister had a kid,
Hmm.
um, and he doesn't know how or when or what have you. And his wife sits him down and is like, "Hey, so I didn't tell you this. I haven't told a lot of people this, but there was this teacher when we were kids, and he was molesting kids. And the teacher in question has already died. He died of old age.
Hmm.
But she's warning him, saying, "Hey, like if you really delve into this kid's parentage, you might unearth some things you don't want to know."
Yeah.
And it has to, because this it's kind of about the ripple effects of
Mm.
that trauma, because this teacher didn't just hurt one kid,
Right.
and and a crime like that doesn't, it affects the victim, but it affects everyone around the victim too,
Hmm.
the community.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of delving into that and trying to find that. And yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it does. You do a really good job of showing the fact that uh, there aren't just isolated traumas.
Mhm.
Everything has consequences.
Mhm.
There's a lot of ripple effects that go throughout even this tiny little colony and how it affects the entire thing. How Tomas's investigation of what really happened with his sister is thoroughly affected by it, how he has to deal with his nephew and who he can and cannot trust as he goes along. It's all very, very affected actually by that particular childhood trauma that was inflicted on multiple people.
Mhm.
It's much more than just, hey, there's these weird vines that every now and again try to kill us, and how do we deal with that?
Yeah, yeah. There's danger from the alien world outside, but the danger from our fallen humanity is just as present.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you look into like his mother, who had apparently stepped away from the church and everything for a while, and it's again ripple effects from that.
Mhm.
It's all very, very. You do a really good job of showing how these particular events that seem singular in and of themselves have certain, again, ripple effects and people's psychology and everything, and how it affects different interpersonal reactions throughout the entire colony
Because
decades on.
you I think we get this image of sex abuse victims when they come out and when they're trying to get justice, but not
Hmm.
every one reacts that way. Like some of the people that Tomas tries to talk to react very violently because they don't want anyone to know that this happened to them, and they're very ashamed about it, and they're willing to do some dangerous things to keep it all under wraps.
Yeah.
And I try to show a whole range of reactions to it.
Yeah. And I think that's important because people do react differently. It's easy when you're sitting on the outside of something to be like, well, why don't you just do this or that or the other thing? Because you're outside of it. It's easy to sit and think rationally.
Mm-hmm. But you don't
However,
really.
when you're on the inside, what seems rational, what is rational may not seem rational to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you might think
what is actually rational may not seem rational to people watching. Like they just don't know what you're going through.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So now, without obviously giving anything away, there is clearly going to be a sequel to this at some point, or at least intended an intended sequel, because now you're a mom and everything. And I know well what kids do to your plants. Only good things. Only good things. So, will there is the sequel, shall we say, on the horizon somewhere?
Right now, I took a break from the sequel, and I'm working on a novella, but I'm just finishing up on that.
Okay.
So I'm kind of planning on having these two series going on, and that I'll write a novel, and then I'll take a break and write a novella and a series, and back and forth. So the novella is the Cyber Exorcist series, and it's going to be a series of short mysteries.
Cyber Exorcist, explain.
It's an exorcist in a cyberpunk world, and so I love. I actually just finished Cyberpunk 2077 last night.
Nice.
And anything cyberpunk. I've been a huge fan of that series forever. Ghost in the Shell is definitely one of my favorites. And I love the themes about what is a soul and what is a human explored in that genre. And I also really like exorcism stories, and actually not like cheap thrills, but I actually like reading memoirs of actual exorcists and them talking about their day job. Like, it's not that big a deal, guys. It's my day job.
I just regularly expel demons from people,
Yeah, calm down.
Yeah, check it out. It's pretty cool.
But I like reading those because it is reassuring to see people that interact with that sort of thing regularly, and that they're not, scared of their own shadow, and that that they are confident in God's power and goodwill for us. And I kind of wanted to blend that. And I like this whole thing of exorcism has this connotation of old world religious beliefs, and I wanted to bring that into the future, and explore that. So so the first one's going to be the Cyber Exorcist and the Mermaids of Mississippi is the working title. So
sir, okay, I'm interested, because I love utterly absurd titles like that, because why not? It sounds very pulpy. I dig it.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a series of short mysteries. That's the idea. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, that definitely sounds like a lot of fun. Now I'm kind of, I don't know if you can do it without giving anything away, but where is this sequel to Vines of Mars going to go?
So I think I can explain it without giving things away, by explaining the inspiration.
Okay.
So I'm very much, my father is a huge Western fan. I think he has every Louis L'Amour book ever. And whenever we went on road trips, we would listen to particularly books from the Sackett series. Okay. So he has a series of books that each book is a It's from the point of view of a member of the Sackett family, and
Mm-hmm.
it starts with the first Sackett in Britain as they come over to the U.S. and make their way, and then each
Okay.
successive book follows descendants of him, and it also follows the
Mm-hmm.
history and the expansion of the U.S. And I kind of wanted to
Okay.
do something like that with space. So I start off on a frontier colony in Mars, and
Mm-hmm.
then the sequels follow members of that family. It's not Tomas is not going to be the main character of the sequel.
Okay.
One of his children, possibly. I'm working. I think I'm 2 or 3 of his kids are going to be POV characters, and
Okay.
it's going to follow them through the human expansion of space.
Okay.
So that can,
Hmm.
and also, they encountered this alien on Mars, but the alien's also going to grow and develop and affect human um, politics and.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why it's so hard to talk about it while giving away the ending of the first book, because it's at the end of the book, it doesn't go the way you think it's going to go at the beginning. I can tell you that much. Whatever you're thinking at the beginning, you're wrong.
Yeah, I've had several people try to guess the ending, and I haven't had anyone guess right yet. So.
Nope.
Yeah,
there is no way I would have seen the ending coming.
Yeah, it's definitely inspired by Westerns and its structure and its setting. Yeah.
And then Ray Bradbury.
Ray Bradbury, Firefly, Dune, everything.
Well, you can't have anything that's space western and not have it be influenced by Firefly in this day and age. It just
Yeah.
it's just going to happen.
Yeah,
And
that was a series that I think me and my dad really bonded over when it came out. I was like, Dad, we have to watch this. This has my thing and your thing.
it's so funny because when I first heard about that series, I honestly thought it sounded dumb.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, who wants to watch a space western? This doesn't make any sense at all. And then Serenity came out,
Mm-hmm.
and I heard a lot of good things about it. And I'm like, okay. So my wife and I, we went to the theater to go see it. I was like, this is actually really, really cool. And like, these characters are amazing. I love this. I love this. And I was like, I don't know. And the funny thing is, the guy who was playing the operative, whose real name I can't, Iojafor or whatever, however you say his name. I have no idea how to pronounce his real name. But I was like, he's really good. Like, this is just a sci-fi movie, and his character is somebody could just play him flat and be one note. But no, he actually injected a lot of emotion into this character. This guy's really good. We're going to see more of him. I just know it. And yeah, sure enough, he's been around a little bit since then. But yeah, and then of course, after after seeing the movie, I tracked down and watched the series. And I'm like, yep, okay, I get the hype now. I get it. This is an awesome series, and I didn't know what I was missing. And the only bad thing about it is that it ended.
Yeah.
And just the fact that I think enough of them have gone and had reasonably successful careers of their own that it's, there's not going to be any sort of surprise reunion reboot or anything. And it's been so long anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Unless, I don't know, have you heard a rumor?
No, I can see in the future them doing like a spinoff, like in the same universe. One day, kind of like how, I don't know, but it won't feel the same, right?
No.
It'll feel like the new Ghostbusters movie. And all of us will be like old fuddy duddies. They'll be like, "This isn't as good as the original," and the new people will be like, "Okay, this is good," and then they'll also go back and watch the original. So.
And then they'll be like, "You're right, the original is way better." Because, I mean, especially with something like Firefly or Ghostbusters, actually, so much of it comes from the interaction between those particular characters.
Yeah.
You can't,
and the actors, the chemistry between.
Yeah, exactly, and you can't. You can't duplicate that. That's lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Eh,
You want to show that it's not going to capture the magic of the original, but I feel like it's a worthy descendant of it. Is this Canadian show called Killjoys? It's a
huh.
lot of fun.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Killjoys?
yeah, it's another space western
Huh.
Firefly descendant
I'm
show.
gonna have to. I'm gonna have to check that one out too.
I
Where does
will
one
say
where
that
does
the
one
first
find it?
season, well, it's a Canadian show, so uh, it depends on where you are. I
Fair enough.
bought the series off Amazon is how I got it. I think
Okay.
you can get maybe the first episode. And I will say the caveat is the first season has way too much Canadian pop music that should ever be in a sci-fi western show, and I don't like the soundtrack to the first season. But they fix it in the second season, and it's still good. It's still a good show despite that. So just like
I'm just
tone out
trying
the
to
music.
wrap my head around what Canadian pop music is. Well, I mean, they gave us Justin Bieber, so maybe. Yeah.
I feel like it's just it's just not a good match. It's not bad music. It's just it doesn't go well.
I can't see any pop music going well with sci-fi. Period.
But that's like the only bad thing I can say about it.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's only for the first season. They fix it up in the second. So.
Well, if that's it, then that's cool. Now, I like this. I like this fun fact that Jake throws up that Whedon wasn't actually terribly involved with Firefly, which I find very interesting because he never. Well, I mean, there was Buffy and there was Firefly, and the first Avengers, but those are both well. Okay, now in all fairness, there was Doctor Horrible's sing along blog, which is also highly entertaining. Um,
Yeah, maybe we
but
should follow Tim Minear instead.
yeah, honestly, maybe we should check him out too, as well. Because yeah, I wonder because the Whedon has been very hit and miss.
Mhm.
Like some of his stuff has been like just fantastic. So it calls into question. I wonder how much of the other stuff was he directly involved in. I don't know. But then
Mhm.
again, I've read some of the X-Men comics that he's written too, and they were actually very good. So
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Is like we may not get a sequel in the show, but the comics for Firefly are really nice.
I have never read them, but I probably should because I know those are the only follow-ups we're ever likely to get.
Mhm. And they're good. They're fun stories.
Oh yeah, and do they ever get into books backstory?
Yes, yes.
Ah, because that's one of the unanswered questions that I've just been like, huh.
They have a whole booklet that gives you his biography. And it's
Well,
good.
fantastic. Now I know I need to check this out.
Made me cry.
I'm gonna have to hop on into my Comixology app and find me some Firefly comics.
Mhm.
Because yeah, absolutely. Well, goodness, we're actually getting close to the hour here.
Mhm.
So, what would be some of the favorite things you discovered through Catholic Reads? So, just a couple of like particular interesting authors you'd recommend and why.
Personally, because it's gonna
Yes,
vary, right? So, like, if you're gonna ask me if I can try to be, are you asking for my try to be most objective opinion, or are you asking me
you
for my?
personally.
Um, Colleen Drip, I think, is one of my favorite authors I discovered. She has a series called The Star Brothers,
Okay.
and each book takes place on a different planet within this extended universe, and it follows these missionary brothers as they encounter different cultures and um, planets, and
Okay.
it's really good. And I love how she does a fantastic job of making you empathize with everyone, even if you really don't agree with them. Um, Gellin is probably her most ambitious book. It's difficult. It's one of those books that you're going to get 50 pages in, and then you're going to be like, oh, okay, I get it now. But at first you'll be like, what is happening? If you want an easier entry into her world, I just finished. Oh snap! have it with me. Let me grab it.
Okay. And as we wait, let me see if I can come up with something else to discuss, or just fill the airtime with a couple of random words. That's most likely what's going to happen here. And here we are. Hey, it worked out well.
Yeah, this one, God Country.
Star
So
Brothers. Okay.
yeah, the God Country follows this guy Sabat, and he was basically a cyber slave. That's a
Okay.
slave, and the company that owned him went under, imploded, so he's free. But he gets hired to go back to this planet that he used to have to work on as a slave to basically just do this rescue mission into this planet's like holy land. They call it God Country, and they don't really delve into the details too much about the religion on that planet, but the short of it is, if you're a heretic and they catch you in God Country, they will bury you alive.
Oh, I don't think I want to go there.
So he gets hired by the Star Brothers
Uh-huh.
to on this mission, and so he's trying to come to terms with his past as a slave and his worth as a human being. And what's also interesting is he was raised, and it doesn't set it outright, but pretty much the company raised him as a Stoic.
Okay.
So like the ancient classical like
Right.
religion.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really interesting to see that ancient religion like actively believed and followed in a main character.
Yeah.
And then interact with Christianity and also this pagan culture that buries people alive. But yeah, it's really good. It's very haunting. It's very creepy. I like haunting, creepy stuff.
Well, there you go. Check out some Star Brothers stuff and apparently some Firefly comics.
Yeah.
Okay, so anything else you would like before we wrap things up? Anything else you want to throw out there? Recommendations, appeals?
I think we covered it. Yeah, just check out my book if you're interested. If not, check out the Cyber Exorcist when it comes out.
And that is out on Amazon, correct?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
And as you see, you can get a physical copy. I believe you can also, there's also ebooks.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And also go to catholicreads.com and find some other authors to check out in your spare time. And one thing that we should have emphasized actually is that not every single book that gets reviewed and promoted by Catholic Reads is a specifically Catholic book.
Yeah.
It's but more like I'll let you explain.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of things that Catholicism has in common with a lot of other branches of Christianity and otherwise. So there are books that cover themes and beliefs in common with Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually one I really like that's the Doha Experiment. It's actually a nonfiction book, and it was this Jewish professor who was working at a Catholic college in a Muslim country. And he's working in Qatar. And so he was talking about like the complexities of free speech and advocating for free speech in this Western sense, but working in a country that doesn't. And it's just really fascinating. So yeah, so I mean, freedom and freedom of religion and free speech is definitely something that I think we have in common with the Jewish faith. And it was neat to see that those common values, through that lens. So,
yeah. So again, you can find just about anything there in a variety of genres, and from everything from kids' books, literally everything from kids' books to nonfiction to horror. You can definitely find it there, and I can again personally attest that you will find things that are very worth reading and spending actual money on. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in, whether you are live or whether you're showing up later. Thanks a lot for watching. Go check out CatholicReads.com. And until